Steve, I think the easy comparison for a lot of people might be Ray Travis because of the great transfer thing, but in terms of how he plays, who does he remind you of from who you guys have had here?
To be honest, he's like a stretch four. He shoots it, good with the ball. It's nice having a veteran that talks. I mean, he over talks. He tries to get the guys to talk. You know, he can play some five, but if you play him at five, you're going to stretch the court with him as a five and probably post somebody else. But he's good in the post. You know, Reed was just a physical. Nate lost 25 pounds. So he's at, what, 235 right now, and physically in great shape and running, and he's really been a great addition to this group.
So they're only caught.
Hey, John, all of us in here get another year older every year, but yet the kids you recruit, the kids you coach are forever 18. I'm just curious, how's it changed through the years relating to players, and have kids today really changed as much as old people like to say?
So, you are old, Daryl, but so I have individual meetings with the guys, and so part of it will be me asking them, you know, what were you doing this summer? Where did you guys want them to talk about their families? And some of it will be, what did you do this summer to get better? What are you planning on? What do you need to add? And how can you be a better teammate? What can you do on and off the court to be a better teammate? I want you to think in terms of everybody else, not yourself. And then I said, so tell me, how can I help you be a better player? What can I do for you? And the first veteran player said, I want to have a better relationship with you. I think I'm pretty much, you know, back. So I said, okay, and I said, part of this is, this got to be both of us. You can't look at me like I'm this guy that's, I said, I only look at myself as I'm good at what I do. We're different in how we do it. I don't think I'm the greatest of all time. I'm good at what I do. You guys, as players, look at me as something that I'm not. You need to get me down, and we got to do this together. So I talked, and I felt, so the next guy comes in, and how can I help you? I want to have a better relationship with you. So all the talking and individuals I think I'm doing, I got to do more. How about, how do I bring myself, because they seem to hold me at a point that I don't see myself. How do I come down to where they're comfortable with how I'm coaching, what we're doing, how, and they're comfortable telling me, like, we did something, and you won't, I forget things sometimes. So we were running an offense, and then I started watching tape, and it wasn't how we were supposed to be running it. So I went in and I said, listen, we're changing it, watch the tape, here it is, I saw it last night, and I looked at Ashton, you would have known this, why didn't you say something? They're still seeing me in something that I don't see myself. So part of this is, kids need more affirmation, they need more time, they need to know that you ready, you can really coach me, but I need to know you love me too. Has that changed? I don't know, but in this group there were a bunch of guys that want that for me. Well, guess what? That's what I got to give them then. Doesn't mean I change how I coach. It doesn't mean, you know, I'm not going to be aggressive or tell a guy. And I told him, look, you don't dive on that floor, you don't do this, you're coming out. If this group, we had an unbelievable defensive session, and these four guys defended so crazy, and I said, listen, if you come in the game and our defense goes down, what do you expect? They said, you should come out. Yeah, but then you got to call your people, I came out because I didn't defend. Well, somebody else doesn't defend, you didn't take them out when they don't defend, and you don't. This is where you got to grow up and be a man. This is where we're all communicating together and knowing if you lift this team, you're staying in. If you're bringing this thing down, you can't be in there. Holding them accountable, it's hard because they played every minute as a high school player. Now they're coming here and they're expected to win every game by 20, 25. If they struggle the first game, we got beat by 100 first game.
Let's do that.
They still should have won the national title. Still should have won the national title. Had our chances, losing an overtime game where I saw a clear path. I mean, this stuff here is real, and in the recruiting process, tell them this is not for everybody. I'm not being arrogant. It is not for everybody. If you're delusional, it's hard to finish here. If you don't want to compete, don't come here.
Yeah, from Kyle.
What's one thing you still really need to know about your team?
Are we going to be physical enough? Because our defense on the ball should be unbelievable. I think we're long enough at other positions, and if you try to beat us to the rim, we're going to long. We can block shots. That's the sign of a really good defensive team. Now, if you get roughed up, can you still play? Can you still perform? Do we have the physical, mental toughness? And you're juggling balls, okay? So you work on that. You're banging each other and you're hitting. We got to get tougher. What ends up happening? Somebody gets hurt. Now you got 10 guys. Okay, we got 7 for practice today. All right, coaches, come on, Kenny. I know you're 58, but you can do this. Come on. I mean, you're juggling balls. So part of it's going to be in the games. We got to get them to understand that we're going to have to take this up a notch. So the main thing for me will be, how do we rebound and how tough are we physically?
Sam, go with you on the right.
Recognizing that you're not quite up to speed with the California law and that your lifetime contract may mean 20 years and not 20 minutes, where do you see college sports evolving to when you're done, and what would you like to see it become?
My biggest concern is that we minimize and diminish education. And the reason I say that, we're so spoiled here. 70% of the players that come here get drafted. Do you hear what I just said? It's the stupidest thing ever in the history of this game. You ready for this stupid statement? Of the 70%, you ready? 75% of those get to second contracts. We have $2 billion in current contracts without shoe, without... Do you understand that is not normal? Like, this is kind of stupid. The reality of it is, players that have that opportunity to go, it's 1%. So we're going to do everything to make this about all the other stuff and diminish education, and all the kids that are benefiting are going to get away from that path. I think the kids should go right out of high school to the NBA. I get no problem. There should be 5, 6, 7, 8 a year. Wait a minute, coach, there'll be 40. No, there won't. They're not good enough. I have coached the best players in the country the last 10 years, and probably, if you ask me, I would say 5 or 6 of them were ready to go directly to the league. I coach the best players. So what happens to all these kids, thousands and thousands, that think they're going directly to the league? As 9th and 10th graders, they stop education, and it's their hope. It's their one hope to make it. And then I ask you, what's the demographic we're talking about? What is the demographic we're talking about? Who are the kids that we're encouraging away from academics, and you're going to be a professional, 1% maybe? I get disappointed in the NCAA because I think they're trying to push all this other way. It's not the Players Association in the NBA. It seems like it's the NCAA. Who in the NCAA? What coaches in the NCAA and the NBA trying to push this narrative? I believe kids should go out of high school, but not plan on being in the G League for 1 or 2 years and then go do what you need to do. Well, wait a minute. Well, I don't have an education. There's no hope. What do I do? That is my fear. And I want to be the guy that stood up on the mountain and said, listen, don't change this for every kid for 7 or 8. Let the 7 or 8 go. Maybe it's 4 one year, maybe it's 10. It's never going to be 40 high school players in an NBA draft. Will not be. So how do we take care and not diminish education? That's my only issue with all this stuff. And now we're talking about agents in high schools. And we're talking about stuff, again, our kids have lifetime education, lifetime scholarships here. If you come here, you have a lifetime scholarship. And then you're gonna say, well, who has come back? John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Julius Randle, Dakari Johnson, keep talking to me, Terrence Jones. Who?
Meeks.
Well, you had Meeks and other guys come back and finish, but they can come back here and finish anytime. Now they'll say, well, if you go to the G League and fail, we'll give you a scholarship. That's fool's gold, because the kid is a 9th and 10th grader, could care less about education. So yeah, you're giving him a scholarship, but he's got to go to a trade school because he didn't do any academic work, because he was going right to the league and getting a big house and a watch. Let's just come together and understand, let's not, the highest graduation rate of basketball players ever in our sport, the highest graduation rate of African American basketball players in the history of our sport. Do not throw, how do they do the baby with the bathwater, bathwater with the baby? What are we talking about there?
Baby out the bathwater, out the bathwater.
Say it again?
Baby out with the bathwater.
Pretty good there. That's my only concern with this. And let me say this, Kentucky will eat first. I don't care what it is, what it all looks like. Listen, I've said this before. If you're a coach and you want to win the national championship, get the Kentucky job, because 5 guys have done it. Get the Kentucky job. Whoever is here, this program will eat first. It's going to eat first. So whatever these rules are, if you think you're hurting Kentucky, okay, you're not. My point is societal, what are we doing? An entertainment industry that's billions and billions is not worried about the society part of this. I think we as educators should.
Doesn't know John.
Is that the end of this? No.
Good filibuster.
Hey, John. When Johnny Juzang takes the court, he will be the first player of Asian descent to play varsity ball for the University of Kentucky. I know you said that you just don't care, you care about people who can play, but what does somebody like him bring to the program? How significant of a milestone do you think that is?
Well, you'd have to ask him. For me, all these kids, there's a couple things I don't look at. I never look at their feet, what they have on their feet, and I never look at tattoos because I'm looking at their eyes. And by looking at their eyes, I don't care if they're black, brown, white, yellow, it doesn't matter to me. Is he a good teammate? Can he help us? When you hear their family story, you are rooting for this kid. When you hear the family story, I don't care what his background is. When you hear the story, you want this kid to do well. And he has an inner fire and a fight in him. And he's skilled and he's smart. Like, he'll come in and I said, what do you have to work on? And he'll tell me, I got to do this better, I got to do this better, but I cannot get away from what I do shooting the ball. Thank you. Just thank you. We haven't had that, where we throw it to a guy and they can consistently, we know, they play zone and he goes in. If he's open, he's letting it go. We haven't had that. And so, you say that, I had the first Latin backcourt in the history of the NCAA that went to a Final Four. I had the first Latin backcourt. What did it mean? It was great in Puerto Rico and the Dominican and all those things. I would say there's going to be people across the country where their children are going to look up to Johnny Juzang. I believe that. But he's here because he can really play basketball and he's a great kid and a great teammate.
Over on the left.